Can a simple sound wave, just a vibration in the air, actually heal your body? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, doesn't it? But a growing field of research is taking this question very, very seriously. Today, we're going to cut through all the noise and really investigate the science behind sound healing. Can specific frequencies genuinely change our health? Let's listen in and see what the evidence has to say.
You know, everything around us, and I mean everything, from the chair you're sitting in to the cells in your own body, is in a constant state of vibration. This idea that the universe is just this giant symphony of frequencies, it's been around forever. And while it sounds a bit philosophical, it perfectly sets the stage for what science is just now starting to explore, the hidden power of vibration.
Okay, get a load of this. This might look like some intricate piece of art or a sacred geometry drawing, but it's not. It is a photograph of what a sound wave actually looks like. When a specific tone is played through something like sand on a plate, it organizes the particles into these absolutely incredible, perfect geometric patterns. It's a direct visual reminder that sound has the power to create order out of chaos. And it kind of makes you wonder, if sound can do this to sand and water, what could it be doing to us? After all, our bodies are mostly water.
Yeah, this amazing phenomenon actually has a name, cymatics. It's literally the science of making sound visible. And what's so cool is that the patterns change depending on the frequency. You can go from what looks like total chaos to these perfectly symmetrical, beautiful forms just by changing the pitch. And this simple visual fact immediately brings up a huge question. And this is it. This is the core question we're really diving into today. Our bodies are over 70% water, and our brains are basically a super complex network of electrical frequencies. So if a simple sound wave can physically organize something like sand, what on earth might it be doing on a biological level inside of us?
So, let's get right into our first section, how sound affects us, or as I like to think of it, tuning the body. To even begin to answer that big question, we first have to understand the theories. I mean, how exactly could an invisible sound wave interact with our biology? Well, scientists are looking at two really fascinating ideas.
The two main theories are brainwave entrainment and cellular resonance. So on one hand, you've got brainwave entrainment. This is all about the mind. The idea is that the steady pulse of an external sound can actually get your brain's own electrical waves to sync up with it. It's like you're coaxing your brain into a different state, whether that's deep relaxation, sharp focus, or even meditation. Then, on the other hand, you have cellular resonance. This is about the body. Remember, sound is a physical mechanical wave that travels through stuff. This theory suggests that those vibrations can literally shake and stimulate our cells directly, maybe improving things like blood flow or loosening up tight muscles.
Okay, so we've got the theories, but theories are one thing. Where's the proof? Well, that brings us to our next section, the symphony of frequencies. This is where we look at the hard data and see what science has actually found when they test specific frequencies.
Let's start with 40 Hz. This is a really low, deep bass tone, right at the very bottom of what humans can hear. Researchers like Dr. Lee Bartel have found that exposing the brain to a 40 Hz pulse can actually boost its gamma wave activity. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, you can think of gamma waves as your brain operating in top gear. They're linked to high-level processing, memory, and focus. And what's really significant is that these are the exact brain waves that are often found to be much lower in people with conditions like Alzheimer's, fibromyalgia, and even depression. Now for a really fascinating study. Researchers looked at people going through a stressful tooth extraction. Not fun. They split them into groups. One listened to music tuned to 432 Hz, another to the standard concert pitch of 440 Hz, and a third group had no music at all. And as you can see here, when they asked patients how anxious they felt, both music groups said they felt way, way better than the silent group. So on a purely psychological level, any music was a huge help. But wait, that's not the whole story.
Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. The scientists didn't just ask people how they felt. They measured a physical marker for stress, the hormone cortisol in their saliva. And look at this. Only the patients who listened to the 432 Hz music showed a significant drop in their cortisol levels. So while both frequencies made people feel better, the data suggests that the 432 Hz frequency had a unique, measurable, and physical effect on the body's actual stress response.
And the evidence gets even more granular when we zoom way in, all the way down to the cellular level. This is with a frequency called 528 Hz, which some people call the miracle tone. In this lab study, researchers took healthy brain cells, specifically astrocyte cells, and damaged them with ethanol. That's what you're seeing on the left. Then they exposed some of those damaged cells to a 528 Hz sound wave. The image on the right? That's the result. I mean, the difference is just visually stunning.
And we can actually put a hard number on that visual difference.
The study found that hitting these damaged cells with the 528 Hz frequency boosted their viability by about 20%. It also dramatically cut down on the production of reactive oxygen species. Those are the nasty molecules linked to cell stress and damage. So this is evidence, at a microscopic level, that a specific frequency might have a genuine protective effect on our cells.
Okay, so moving on, let's talk about a specific method you might have actually heard of or even tried. We're going to talk about hacking your brainwaves with the power of binaural beats. Let's dig into what they are and what a massive scientific review found out about them.
So what in the world are binaural beats? Well, it's a really cool auditory illusion. It works like this. You put on headphones and you play, say, a 200 Hz tone in your left ear and a slightly different 210 Hz tone in your right. Your brain doesn't just hear two separate tones. Instead, it creates a third phantom beat that pulses at 10 Hz, which is exactly the difference between the two. It's a clever way to use sound to directly nudge your brain into producing specific brainwave frequencies on command.
So, do they actually work? Well, when you look at a meta-analysis, that's a study of studies that combine the results of 22 different experiments, the answer is a surprisingly strong yes. The analysis found solid evidence that binaural beats can have a positive effect on things like memory, attention, and even how we perceive pain. They're also really effective at lowering anxiety. The key things they found were that the effect really depends on the frequency you use and that listening for longer is better than just a few minutes. Now, we've seen some pretty compelling stuff, but it's absolutely crucial that we maintain a healthy dose of skepticism here. Which brings us to our next section, hype versus healing. This field is filled with some pretty wild claims, and our job is to try and separate the real, emerging science from the unsubstantiated hype. This is the question we really have to ask ourselves. While the studies we've looked at are super promising, are they the final word? Is every single claim you read online about sound healing backed by this level of research? The short answer is no. This quote from Dr. David Loxley really hits the nail on the head. You'll often hear claims that try to connect a frequency like 432 Hz to some natural phenomenon, like the Earth's magnetic field. But as Dr. Loxley points out, just because you can do some math and find a connection between two numbers, that doesn't mean there's a real physical interaction actually happening. Correlation is not the same thing as causation. So, let's just lay it all out, nice and clear. When you hear the claim that 432 Hz has unique healing powers, the limitation is that the studies are often small and the results aren't always easy to replicate. What about 528 Hz being a miracle tone that repairs DNA? Well, the evidence we have for that is from cells in a petri dish, not from actual human trials. And that's a huge leap. So the bottom line for the whole field is that while some areas show real promise, the field is still young. It really needs more high-quality, large-scale studies to move these fascinating ideas from the lab into the doctor's office. And even with that need for more research, the science of sound is undeniably moving into some incredibly exciting new territory. So that brings us to our final section. The future is sound. Where is all this heading, and what might the future hold? One of the most futuristic ideas out there is a new field being called biocymatics. Okay, remember at the beginning how we saw sound creating patterns in water? Well, researchers are now trying to do that in reverse. They're working on ways to capture the unique vibrational frequencies given off by our own cells, both our healthy cells and our disease cells. The unbelievable idea here is that one day we could use these sound signatures as biomarkers to listen for diseases like cancer long before any other symptoms ever show up. You know, we started this journey by watching a simple sound wave bring order to chaotic grains of sand, and we've seen real, compelling evidence that it might just be able to calm our nerves, protect ourselves, and even retune our brains. It's a powerful reminder that invisible forces can have a profound and measurable impact on our physical reality. And that leaves us with one final fascinating question to think about. If sound can do all this, what other invisible forces are all around us, just waiting to be understood?